Mike, last time we had Rabbi Leonardo Bitran in from Temple Beth in Rochester. We were talking about Hanukkah. You had some incredible menorah here, one made out of car parts. Today, though, Rabbi, we're talking about Passover, and particularly we're going to speak about the Seder Plate. And the story of Passover is almost on the plate itself.
Absolutely. Here you have the symbols of Passover. You can zero in this. You have the zroa, this is the shank bone, symbolizing the Paschal lamb sacrifice at the time the Israelites left Egypt to mark the home. So God will pass over their homes and not kill the firstborn. And here you have the Beitzah, symbol of the sacrifice made at the temple time. So that's a good couple of thousand years after. You have what represents the sadness and oppression, the maror, the bitter herbs, the slavery of Egypt. Then you have the sign of spring here, right, in Karpas. And then you have extra maror here, Chazeret, and what represents the mortar used to build the pyramids in Egypt.
And why do you...
all the history in one plate.
Why do you dip the parsley? It's parsley, right?
Right.
Why do you dip that in salt water?
The salt water is symbol of the tears of the Israelites suffering through the oppression of Egypt. It lasted for 400 years. We still celebrate it. This is the major holiday of the family. And we export this to humanity in the sense that we are fighting for people to be liberated all over the world, not just for the Jewish people.
And a lot of people, non-Jews included, they know the story that precedes the Exodus, right? I mean, this is a pretty familiar story.
This story is between the chapters 12 and 15 of the book of Exodus in the Old Testament. And everybody can read that and learn. But the Haggadah, which is the book we used that night at the Seder, has stories that are much more modern. All the civil rights is in there when we sing that beautiful Let My People Go, now incorporated into the Haggadah. Stories about the Holocaust are also involved.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not a final product. It's being, the editing is still going on.
Right.
It's still happening.
Human suffering continues on.
Right. And do you still have the 4 questions? Is that still?
Of course, right. That's still on. And
okay,
matzah is still on. Matzah is still on.
Oh,
and this is the unleavened bread, or the bread of the affliction, of the bread of the poor, that was used at the exit of the people of Israel out of Egypt.
When I was a young child, I remember we learned about the Seder in school. I went to Catholic school, but we learned about it, and I remember that we all said, why was the bread unleavened? It's because they didn't have time to bake, right? They didn't have time to let the bread rise.
Right. Unleavened things are produced by the contact of 5 species, 5 types of grain and water at room temperature for more than 18 minutes. That produces the process of puffing of fermentation.
Yeah.
And that, so everything is forbidden that has that fermentation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fermentation is also an issue about ego and self-centeredness, that we try to get rid of that.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So there's a lot of
the spiritual meaning.
Right, the spiritual meaning attached to it.
Yeah.
And so it's not just matzah, but all the other products that have leavened things are not supposed to be eaten on Passover.
Yeah.
So let's go for a diet.
That sounds
Based
good.
on matzah.
We only have a few seconds left, but I do want to touch upon the Manischewitz. Wine does play a significant role.
Here we have Elijah's cup. The idea is that the prophet that never died will visit important moments, because it is an idea of final redemption.
Yeah.
It's not just our liberation from Egypt. It's the redemption of the human species from oppression.
Rabbi, we really love having you on here.
Well, thank you so much. We'll see you in, what's next? High holidays, I guess.
That's right. Or maybe even before.
We'll see you before.